Thunder over the Pacers, 123-107 in Game 2 of the NBA Finals. They even the series as they head to Indiana for Game 3. Along with Josh Calloway, I am Colby Daniels. A much different fourth quarter vibe here at the Paycom Center than Game 1 that was a soul-crushing loss. And really, I mean, we left, 2 hours after that game ended, and for 2 solid hours, 99% of the faces inside the Paycom Center looked like they had seen a ghost, still trying to digest what had happened in game number 1. The big question was, would that stick with the Thunder heading into game 2? They made a statement tonight, Josh, bounced back in a big way. All the things that they didn't do in game number 1, they were able to take care of tonight, and now it feels like a much different series overall at 1-1.
Yeah, you read my mind perfectly. Basically, everything that happened in Game 1 kind of happened again, only the Thunder were better this time. They capitalized on their turnovers a little bit more than they did in Game 1. They won the rebounding battle this time. Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren were much, much better, especially Chet Holmgren in the first half. He was huge tonight. Jalen Williams more in the second half. And this time, even though it was kind of similar, like it kind of hung around a 15, 20-ish point lead, which normally feels comfortable, but not against this Indiana team, this time they were able to kind of fend them off down the stretch. So it was kind of similar, but Thunder did all the things they didn't do in the first game, like you said, they did tonight, and that was the difference.
Double-digit lead at halftime in Game 1, double-digit lead at halftime in Game 2, but they felt like completely different leads, right? I know the number was a little bit greater tonight, but they weren't gifted 25 turnovers tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were certainly turnovers in the game, but you didn't have a solid one half of basketball where Indiana did everything in its power to give you the opportunity to put the game away. And the Thunder, when they did have opportunities, they capitalized at a much greater rate tonight than they did in Game 1. And I thought just the overall aggressiveness in the second half when they did have that lead, obviously very aware of what happened in the fourth quarter of Game 1. They never really took their foot off the brake. Indiana is sensational at answering. Like, it happened in Game 1, it happened again tonight. Every time you felt like the Thunder were really about to put a stranglehold on this game, the Pacers would either respond with a big shot or they would respond a big sequence with a big sequence, right? There was that moment in the third quarter where the Thunder go on a 10-0 run. What does Indiana do? They respond with a 10-0 run, but the Thunder never took their foot off the gas. They never lost focus and never really let this game get out of their control.
100%. You know, there was a lot of times tonight where it did feel like Game 1, where it felt like Oklahoma City might be kind of pulling it out a little bit, like they're in control, and Indiana would respond. They found a way to get a big bucket or a big stop or whatever kind of when they needed it all night to keep it within reason. But Oklahoma City did a very nice job not settling for threes too much. They did it for a while in that 10-0 run that you referred to, but they were able to kind of get past that, get downhill, get to the rim. We talked about Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren were a lot better. I thought, you know, something that doesn't get a lot of love, but I thought Mark Dagnall had a few good timeouts tonight, like some well-placed timeouts to kind of settle things down. It felt like after those breaks in the action, they came out with a good possession, forced a couple turnovers. Like that happened a few times tonight, and I kind of took note of it. They just, again, it kind of all comes back to they did the things they didn't do in the first game and were able to kind of just fend off Indiana. But like you said, this was probably the least comfortable, like, 20-point lead I've ever. Everyone was still standing and tense in here with like 5 minutes left up by 20, which you would never have in any other situation. But with what happened in Game 1 and what Indiana's been doing all postseason, I don't think anyone could really relax until it was zeros on the clock. But a lot to like tonight from Oklahoma City and a lot to kind of carry forward through the rest of the series.
And it wasn't drastically different from Game 1. They just did a few things that they didn't do in Game number 1, and that ultimately feels much different, I think, over the course of the second half.
We talked about, like, Game 1 they lost, and the end was brutal, but, like, they led the whole night. So it was nothing drastic coming out of Game 1, like they needed to overhaul everything. It was you just got to get a better production from a couple of your stars, convert on turnovers a little more, and just finish the game better, and you'll probably be okay. And they did all those things tonight, and they won pretty comfortably.
I thought the Paycom Center in Game 1 was juiced. I thought there were many moments that it felt like the Avalanche was getting ready to start, and then either the Thunder would make a mistake or Indiana would hit a big shot and kind of quiet the crowd. I was curious to know what the atmosphere would be like tonight. Would it be like a nervous type of vibe because of what happened in Game 1? I think the juice and the energy level leading up to tip-off and then throughout the game was better tonight than it was in Game 1, even though you had the heartbreaker and fans maybe still licking their wounds a little bit.
It was rocking in here tonight. It was a really, really good crowd, and, you know, they were able to kind of get it revved up a few times. When they pushed it out beyond 20, in the first half. You thought this might be like Denver in Game 2, which this has been compared a lot to the Denver series. But to Indiana's credit, the Pacers do not go away, and they made this thing pretty interesting really all the way through the end. Even though they were still down, you just kind of felt like they could always find a way to, climb back in it. But yeah, the crowd was phenomenal tonight, and we know there will be a Game 5 here, and whatever the series is, it'll be obviously a packed house again. But it was awesome in here tonight, and they got to kind of ride that through the whole evening instead of getting gutted in the final minute like on Thursday.
Speaking of excited fans, I'm curious to hear from Christina Santiago, who was at a Thunder watch party tonight, to find out, what was the vibe there, because the Paycom Center absolutely was fired up, ready for this game. Christina, what was the vibe at the Thunder watch party as fans, are looking for the Thunder to bounce back following that heartbreaker?
I mean, everyone here was super excited, Colby. I'm here with one of the biggest Oklahoma Thunder fans. Guys, this was a great game. How are you guys feeling? Tell me your thoughts.
Felt great. They came out 1 through 4, competed every quarter. I mean, they just had a fire after the first game, and they're not going to look back, I mean, this series, in my opinion, it's already over. It's over.
And I know you have a message. What is your message to the Thunder team?
Jokic cried, Ant-Man tried, Marcus Morris lied. Thunder in 5.
We'll definitely be bringing back that energy to Game 5, Colby, but back to you guys.
Hey, Pacers are 7!
Thank you, Christina Santiago at One Oak Field, as a lot of excited Thunder fans.
Did he steal that, or did he come up with that?
I hope that was his own thing, and that he's ready to cut like WWE promos in the wake of a Thunder blowout. I mean, this was a 16-point win, Josh, but give up a couple buckets late. I mean, we saw the line today, and it was greater than game number 1. I think most people in this building felt like the Thunder were going to respond. And look, that's what they've done this entire postseason, right? Anytime they've faced adversity, they've shown up in a big way, and they've played their best brand of basketball each and every time adversity has stared them in the face.
And they keep it up. We talked about it for Thursday. If you're a Thunder fan, the spin zone that you've been telling yourself the last 2 days is they have not lost 2 in a row in the playoffs, and they've really played some of their best games after losses in the playoffs. They did it again. I mean, they played really well tonight, and something we didn't mention already, defensively, again, they really shut down Tyrese Halliburton. He ended up getting up to an okay line. A lot of that was kind of at the very end. He really was pretty silent the majority of this game. Pascal Siakam, very inefficient night for him as well. I mean, you got the other guys, Nembhard and Obi Toppin and Miles Turner, and Benedict Mathurin gave him some nice boost off the bench, but you feel pretty good about those guys not being able to beat you on their own if you can slow down Halliburton and Siakam. And then this is twice now that they've really done that. You have to feel good about that, I think, if you're Oklahoma City.
I believe we are waiting for SGA to get to the press conference podium, but right now I understand Kenrich Williams is live in the Thunder locker room. Let's listen in.
Me being here for a few years now, that's been a message after every game. Get back to 0-0 mindset and get ready for the next one.
You said it's drilled in, that 0-0 is drilled in. You guys have been saying it ever since you've been here. Right. Saying that's easy, what does that look like practically, putting it to work?
I mean, just coming in the next day with a clear mind. Like I said, not dwelling on the past, not letting the emotions of the game, of the last game affect today, whether that's practice or the game. And just having fun out there, man. That's how you get back to 0-0. This game is supposed to be fun, and you get out there and just play hard.
As you kind of the OG here, did you feel a little more kind of responsibility to make sure everyone was keeping that mentality after being won?
Yeah, and I'm human too, so like the feelings from the game 1, like it was very, very tough. Especially on myself, just like, man, it's a tough way to lose. And the team does a good job. We all have leaders on the team. Everybody leads in their own way, but we did a good job, just putting that game behind us. We had a day to kind of watch the film, which was tough. And then, that's the beauty of this game, man. You get to play again, and you get your lick back again. So I'm proud of the guys the way we stepped up tonight.
How impressive is Alex in many ways?
I mean, he's been tremendous for us, from all parts of the game, like you said. Brings a lot of energy, brings a voice to the locker room, and he's just playing at a very high level right now. And you can tell, like, he turned it up in the playoffs, and, you know, that's what we need. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, Rich, there was a stretch there in the fourth quarter when Tyrese kind of got cooked. It almost feels like he's like a cobra sitting in the corner getting ready to strike at some point. But
All right, that was Kenrich Williams from the Thunder locker room, the victorious Thunder locker room. Thunder win 123-107. Speaking of Kenrich Williams, look, we're going to talk about all of the Thunder bench players that were phenomenal tonight, and a big part.
There's a few of them, yeah.
Kenrich Williams' box score may not stand out in terms of, you know, compared to like Aaron Wiggins or Alex Caruso, but I thought when he did come in, he was noticeable, right? He left fingerprints on the game, and he is among the reasons why this Thunder team got it done tonight.
There's a reason he has the nickname Kenny Hustle, right? And he just comes in and kind of makes things happen. Like you said, he's one of these guys that, you know, we talk about like guys like Caruso and stuff. It doesn't really fit anymore because he's scoring a bunch and everything. But Kenrich Williams' value really does go much beyond the box score, and he's a classic one of these guys, kind of like Jalen Williams. We haven't really seen since Denver or a number of other ones. Doesn't really always have his number called, but when he does, he's always ready to go and come in and make an impact. I thought the Kenrich Williams minutes tonight were awesome. He was really good in the first half, especially. We were sitting up there watching the game. I said to you, Kenny Hustle is kind of everywhere making things happen. You can't really overlook that stuff. And again, the fact he's a veteran player willing to just kind of sit on the bench and wait for his number to be called, it says a lot about him and the kind of the culture they have here. He's the poster child for that. He was great tonight.
The bench across the board was phenomenal, and a big part of that is Alex Caruso and Aaron Wiggins. I mean, anytime you get 20 points from Alex Caruso, on top of everything he does defensively that doesn't show up in the box score, the hustle that he brings that doesn't show up in the box score, and I think the overall impact that his presence has on the other four guys on the floor, none of that stuff ever shows up in the box score. 20 points absolutely does, so when you add 20 points to everything else he already brings to the table, it's monumental.
Alex Caruso, I mean, he's doing this every game. He's doing this every game right now. Just the amount of extra possessions he buys at Thunder, and then to like you're saying, to then also give you 20 points. Like, it feels like what he does defensively and just moving even the ball on offense, anything you get from him scoring-wise is kind of gravy. It's how you kind of feel about it. But he's scoring 20. I mean, he was one of your higher-scoring players tonight. He has been so good in the playoffs, just a vital piece. They would not be here without him. And obviously they got to win 3 more to win a championship. But if they do it, he will be right at the center of it. There was a time in this game where he was shooting free throws. I don't know if you noticed. A couple of fans by us, a couple of rows, got an MVP chant going for him at the free throw line. Hard to argue. He's been unbelievable.
It's warranted.
He really has, yeah.
That Shea is the MVP, right? Not only actually the MVP of the NBA, but, I mean, throughout this postseason run, Shea is the guy.
Oh, no doubt.
But we talked about it at the end of the Denver series. We talked about it in the Minnesota series. The juice that Alex Caruso gives this team, the veteran leadership that he gives this team, obviously is a big reason why I think you see all these other guys step up. I believe that we have SGA at the press conference podium, so let's check in with SGA following this 123-107 win for the Thunder.
Let's get hand. Now, whatever that may be for your team and how you want to attack them or go about the game plan, but you have to lock in and stay focused. And even tonight, we've had some moments of slippage. Now, you're not going to be perfect out there ever, but it goes without saying, like, to make it this far into the season, it's going to take supreme level of focus to reach an ultimate goal. And they're a display of that to the highest form. Like, they play a full 48 minutes, and you can't just throw the first punch. You got to try to throw all the punches all night. And yeah, that's what we did. We threw enough punches tonight to get a W.
Joe, next. Joe Masato, the Oklahoman. Shea, what do you think of the minutes that Aaron Wiggins gave you guys off the bench and just his shot making in this one?
Yeah, big time. He, it's impressive to me. Like, he's been exactly who he's been all year throughout the playoffs. Like, sometimes he gets 20 minutes, sometimes he gets 2 minutes, sometimes he gets 10. Like, it's all over the place, and no matter what, he finds a way to impact winning for us. And you need it in the biggest moments. No one-man show can win you an NBA championship. And for him to rise to the occasion and just be who he's been in the biggest moment of his basketball career is it's pretty gutsy. Says a lot about the competitor and the man he is. So hats off to Wiggs.
Dan over here on the left.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. First quarter, pretty tight, only a couple of possessions separation. Then you go off on that big run in the second quarter. I think it was 19-2. Just what did you see? What was going on during that run to allow you to establish that separation? And did that kind of feel like you guys play into your identity maybe more than you were able to in game one?
Yeah, we got stops. We ran. We capitalized on our opportunities. And we just strung it together. And I think we strung it together more often than we did in game one tonight, especially on the defensive end of the floor.
We're going to go Nick. Mike's coming over.
Shay, I just want to ask you about the offense overall, 25 assists, and it just seemed like you had some of those ball movement plays that we've seen all season long, and why you were able to get to more of that tonight.
Every night me personally, you try to attack the defense, and you try to just like make the right play. You try to make them pay for what they throw at you, coverage-wise, scheme-wise. And I think tonight, myself for sure, did a better job of attacking it. But as a whole, we did a better job of attacking it. We were a little bit sticky last game, but you have games like that. It sucks to be on this stage and have games like that, but it is what it is.
That's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from the press conference podium. 38 points in the game one loss, 34 tonight. I thought he hit so many big shots in big moments. And before we take a timeout, a pretty incredible stat from Shai in his first two NBA Finals games.
72 points in his first two NBA Finals games, the most by any NBA player ever. Allen Iverson's 71 was the previous record. Credit Yahoo Sports for that stat. Just goes to show you what SGA is doing it on the biggest stage. His historic season continues. He's brought it in these finals so far.
And so many highlight plays, clutch shots. He was monumental tonight. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We will get to Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, everybody from this Thunder team as they hit the press conference podium. Along with Josh Calloway, I'm Colby Daniels. Thunder win 123-107, Game 3 in Indiana on Wednesday. Thunder 123, Pacers 107. The series is now even at one game apiece. Game 3 at Indiana on Wednesday, Game 4 on Friday, and we are now guaranteed to have a Game 5 back here in OKC next Monday. So at least 5 in this series, and we'll see what happens in Indiana. Maybe we get a split and this thing continues to roll a little bit further. I know Thunder fans are hoping for 2 on the road. You got to get at least 1, though, right, to take back possession of home court advantage.
For sure, I think that's probably the goal, right, to go split in Indianapolis. I mean, they certainly, I guess the goal is to win 2, but you definitely want to get a split. That's the realistic if you're a fan. Get this thing back to home court knowing that they have to beat you in this place again, obviously, to win this series. I think if you're Oklahoma City, you feel pretty good, but it's a different animal going to Indianapolis. I mean, we've seen that all postseason. Oklahoma City on the road, they've gotten a lot of tough wins on the road, but it's tough anywhere you go. That place is going to be on fire. You know, they can taste it a little bit. They know that if they protect their home court, they win the series, right? So going to Indianapolis on Wednesday night could be very interesting to see what that environment is like. And if you're Oklahoma City, you're just feeling like go split there and you get home court back, you're in good shape. But a big one on Wednesday. It feels like whoever gets Game 3 and gets that 2-1 lead is squarely in control kind of moving forward.
All right, let's go to the press conference podium. I believe we have Aaron Wiggins, one of the stars off the bench, 18 points tonight, 5 big three-pointers. Let's listen in.
You and I think 5 or 6 other guys, 4 open threes. What does it say about the trust he has in the group that he goes to work with?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows his willingness to, create for other guys. Obviously, everybody sees the points and, how easy it may be for him to, go out there and get 30, 40 points. But when he's out there sharing the ball and getting other guys involved, that's when our team is, at our best. So, credit to him just going out there, playing the game the right way and, continuing to just, help put us in good positions.
Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. Aaron, by all accounts, you've handled the up and down minutes pretty well. But internally, how do you deal with it? You can't like it to, not playing a game, play a little. So how do you deal with it, especially when the games get to this big stage?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're not going to like, the downside to, low minutes or, not playing consistently, a lot every night. But it's the NBA. There's a lot of highs and lows. There are other guys who are going through similar things and guys who have, just kind of earned their rights. So understanding that, I'm still blessed to be in the NBA and do what I love. And at this level, you can't take it for granted. So just continuing to stay ready and take advantage of, the opportunities I get.
Nick in the center.
Aaron, it may just be instinctual, but part of this whole conversation is your ability to play off of and alongside every single one of your teammates. I think of your threes, 4 of them assisted by 4 different players. What is it about you and maybe your journey that allows you to just be so fluid no matter who you're out there with?
Just having learned, I think I've been in every different position. Whether that's having the ball in my hands, being a second, third, fourth option, and, even coming off the bench. Regardless of what's asked for me, I think I've just kind of had experiences. So regardless of what's asked for me tonight, regardless of what's asked for me, come Wednesday, just being ready and, going out there and wanting to win first allows me to just, be myself.
Over on the right.
Yeah, Aaron, Myron Patton, OKC Sports Radio. You've had some big scoring nights this season, but this is your first NBA Finals. Just I wonder if those big scoring nights the regular season help you adjust to this easier, I guess.
Definitely just, gives you confidence because knowing that, you're capable of and you've done it before, allows you to go out there and play, allows me to go out there, play my game and just play confident, play free. It also kind of just, I think, allows my teammates to trust me and find me at times when I get going. So definitely plays a factor.
Fourth row on the right.
Lindsay King, Real Talk Sports. Thank you for your time. You mentioned just your journey and being ready for the moment. When you think about your hometown, when you first picked up a basketball, how much of your hometown do you carry with you every night when you step out on the court?
Yeah, I think about it all the time. Being from Greensboro, kind of, my journey early on, it built me to be grateful and take advantage of the opportunities I get. The teams that I played for and I was kind of like a late bloomer. That just kind of, helped, my journey. It kind of helped me mentally to not be afraid of, regardless of what moment may be in front of me or regardless of what's asked for me. So I always think back, to being at home and, staying grounded.
Dan here on the left.
All right, that was Aaron Wiggins from the press conference podium again. 18 monster points tonight off the bench. He was crucial to that second unit.
Oh, yeah.
And look, every NBA champion ever, right, has performances from guys like Aaron Wiggins throughout the series. It may not be every night, but in big moments, you have these role players that step up and have a big game and contribute to the overall team success. I know you want your stars to perform like Shea did tonight, and obviously J-Dub and Chet, we'll get into that a little bit later. They were much bigger tonight than they were in game number 1, but you don't win these types of series without getting contributions from guys like Aaron Wiggins on any given night.
Yeah, Aaron Wiggins, a very loud 18 points. Like, it felt like he hit a big three or a big shot. Like, he made his count. He picked his moments wisely tonight. He was awesome. I mean, Aaron Wiggins was a big part of the win tonight. You can't say enough about his ability. Again, kind of I was going back to what I was saying about Kendrick Williams earlier.
Yeah.
He just talked about it. His minutes kind of fluctuating in and out. Sometimes he doesn't really see the floor a lot, or a couple times in his playoffs, not at all.
Yeah.
But you have a game like tonight where you think this guy could start on a lot of teams in the NBA. He was tremendous, and his 18
Big
points
time
again
luxury to have,
were
yeah.
vital tonight. He hit more than one or two really just huge, timely threes tonight. He was fantastic.
Along with Josh Calloway, I'm Colby Daniels. 123-107, Thunder win Game 2. We're back in a moment. 123-107, Thunder take Game 2 of the NBA Finals. It's kind of crazy. We've been talking for a while about everything that happened tonight. There's still a lot, I think, to go over and comb through, I think, especially following what took place and what didn't take place in Game 1. We've barely touched on 2 of the Thunder's big 3 to this point, right? I mean, I think one of the big thoughts following Game 1 was the lack of production from both Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander was sensational in Game 1, 38 points. Not that J-Dub was bad. He just didn't leave his fingerprints all over the game in a typical J-Dub type of way. And Chet's minutes, obviously, was a big reason why he didn't have a bigger impact. He just never really found a rhythm. But the Thunder's big 3, as we said, following Game 1, they have to be the big three if the Thunder are going to win a championship, and that was the case tonight. I thought Chet had a couple of monster sequences in this game, and while J-Dub didn't necessarily have a bunch of splash plays, at one point I kind of nudged you and I thought, he has a very sneaky point total at this point in time, and they both contributed in a big way, and they both obviously stepped up in a big way following Game 1.
Yeah, they need him to. If the Thunder are going to win the championship, you need those guys to be the stars, to go with SJ. SJ is your guy. He's your number one. There's no argument about that, and he's been excellent. We just talked about it. He set a record, most points his first 2 career NBA Finals games, but Chet and J-Dub just simply didn't do enough in Game 1, especially Chet, and you knew he was going to respond and that he would come back and be ready to go. He played really well tonight, especially in the first half. That second quarter big run, he was a big part of that, blocking shots. In the first quarter, I think he had 9 in the first quarter. He was arguably the Thunder's best player in the first frame of this game. So he helped him get off to a nice start and have that lead. And yeah, J-Dub, it wasn't real splashy. We're kind of used to the big highlights with J-Dub, a big dunk and a scream or whatever. Didn't have really any of that. He just kind of quietly had a really nice night, and that's all you need. I mean, you have him give you 20-ish. Chet gives you, 10, 15, get some rebounds and maybe a block shot or two. To go with what SGA's doing in this bench, that's all you need, and that's what those guys did tonight. They needed them to bounce back, and they did, and you kind of figured they would. A very encouraging sign there for 2 of OKC's stars.
Obviously, on most nights, you're not going to get everybody scoring 30 points
a
night,
right.
But if your number 2 is putting up about 20 points and your star is doing what he needs to do, that's good enough. The thing about Chet Holmgren that amazes me, and we heard this, I think, all throughout his first year when he was hurt, and especially his actual rookie year following the year off, what a mentally tough guy he was, and that he stayed dialed in, stayed committed to the process, never lost sight of what the goal was. I think we heard it a lot from this team following his early season injury this year, right, when he had that long stretch where he was out. He comes back, tries to assimilate into this team that was playing really good basketball. He's as mentally tough as anybody on this team, and they have reiterated that over and over, especially in this postseason run. All right, let's head back to the Thunder press conference podium.
This Indiana team.
I don't think it's anything super tactical. I don't think it's anything X's and O's wise, really. It's just you have to. You can't play like you're up and just try to run the clock out, because they can put points on the board in a hurry. So you got to try to continue to score with them, and then, keep getting stops on the other end, and not even look at how much time's on the clock. You just got to continue to, try and play like the game's tied. Try to keep winning the game each possession, one at a time, and you can't get caught up playing the score.
Front right. Andrew Schlecht with The Athletic. Chet, you guys are able to convert a lot more shots in the paint and at the rim than you did in Game 1. Just thoughts on how you guys are able to accomplish that?
I think we did a good job of being aggressive and then playing more on 2 feet, making some decisions in that mid-paint area, where in last game we were, kind of just putting up those shots. I think we did a better job of finding some better looks, whether it was dunker spacing or kickouts or whatever it might be. I feel like we did a good job of, slowing down in that space.
Jenny on the right.
Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. Hey, Chet, Mark said that Indiana's offense is a conceptual offense and you have to play conceptual defense against them. I know when it comes to Tyrese, you've got to have great on-the-ball pressure with him, but what are the rest of y'all doing, or what did you do tonight to make his job harder, to make their offense, more difficult for them out there?
We have to play to our principles. We've been working on them all year. We can't just forget who we are, and then we have to communicate. It's really loud in there, and we wouldn't want it to be any other way. The fans bring us a lot of energy, but you really have to communicate when it's loud, especially when somebody's up guarding the ball. They can't see everything behind them, so they're trusting you to communicate with them. And whoever's guarding the screener, kind of, and whether they're in coverage or something else, they got to trust the people behind them to communicate with them what's going on, and trust that everybody's going to be in the right spots, and then just try and execute over and over. It's a long game. There's a lot of possessions. They're throwing a lot of things out there every possession. So you just got to trust that communication and execution will get the job done.
Back left.
Anthony Slater with The Athletic. How good did the big-to-big lob feel, especially considering, you guys didn't even go with the double big lineup in game one?
I always love playing with Hart, especially when he's throwing lobs up to me. But at the end of the day, it was just 2 points. It's a good play for us, so we got to look for it whenever that situation's kind of given to us. But try to keep emotions out of it.
All right, that is Chet Holmgren from the press conference podium. A monster bounce back for Chet Holmgren, a big reason why the Thunder were also able to bounce back tonight. 123-107 is the final score from Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Along with Josh Calloway, I'm Colby Daniels. We're back in a moment. Game 2 of the NBA Finals goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder. 123-107 is the final series, tied at 1 game apiece. It's a best of 5 now as this series heads to Indiana for Games 3 and 4. Game 3 Wednesday night, Game 4 Friday night. That's actually the quickest back-to-back games throughout this series.
Yeah.
Other than the 2 games in 3 nights, there are 2 days between every other matchup in this series. And obviously it's guaranteed to have a Game 5 now back here in Oklahoma City a week from tomorrow, Monday night. So that should be a ton of fun. There's at least going to be one more basketball game inside the Paycom Center, if not more. So in the previous segment, we talked about the response from Chet Holmgren, who had monster sequences in the game tonight, was a big factor in the win. Jalen Williams, he had a sneaky 19 points tonight.
Yeah.
Again, it wasn't super splashy, but I thought his consistency over the course of 4 quarters was big time for this team.
Yeah, I like J-Dub's night. Like you said, it wasn't overly splashy. He didn't have a lot of the big highlight plays that we kind of get used to seeing from Dub, but he was just kind of, you felt his impact over the course of the game. And, something that I think that Thunder fans generally can kind of be guilty of losing sight of sometimes with J-Dub and Chet both. Really young players. I mean, this is year 3 for J-Dub, just year 2 for Chet. Both those guys are still growing and getting better so rapidly. Mark Dagnall's talked about it before. A lot more is asked of those guys than most year 2 and year 3 players, and you see those guys growing, with each and every game that they play.
All right, J-Dub, Jalen Williams is at the press conference podium. Let's take a listen.
The screen, or you want to stay attached? How do you guys figure that out in real time?
Communication. Can y'all hear me? Is that good? Just communication, I think, is the biggest part of that. Obviously, we have schemes in place, and I don't want to get into too much matchup oriented stuff, but a lot of it is just being physical up until the screen, making sure our communication's early and loud, and that's been kind of the biggest thing. And then from there, like you said, we have really good defenders that can sniff a lot of plays out. So being able to talk it, and I think there's an old saying talk it, touch it, switch it, that kind of thing. So probably in replace of the switch it part, but a lot of it is just being close enough to your man to be able to hear what the coverage call is and do that whole thing.
Barry?
Yeah, Barry Trammell, Tulsa World. Jalen, I'm sure you got 1,000 things to worry about getting ready for a Game 2. Minutes is not one of them. You're going to play a big chunk of the game. Aaron Wiggins, not that way. Doesn't know if he's going to play, doesn't know how much. He gets thrown out there and has a game like he has. How much do you respect a guy that can come out and just cold call play like that?
It's the hardest job in the league, I feel like. I think it goes underrated. That's a really good question. That goes really underrated. It's really hard to stay engaged and stay ready. And for him to be able to do that on the biggest stage that he's ever played on and have a really good game, he's a very special player. So I always keep that in mind. And yeah, it's a really tough job, and he does it very well.
Fred, over here on the left.
Jalen, Fred Katz from The Athletic. I'm sure there have been, obviously you've competed against Alex Caruso as an opponent. I'm sure there have been times where drills, scrimmages, whatever, where you guys have been on opposite teams. What is that feeling like when you have to dribble and Alex Caruso is right in front of you?
I don't know. I'd be frying AC, so I don't really know. No, but he's a really good defender. Great hands, good feet, physical, smart. So when you add all that together and the amount of like years that he's been in the league, I can imagine it's probably a little uncomfortable.
Jenny, front right.
Hey, Jalen, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. There was a stretch there in the fourth where Tyrese got going a little bit, but with the exception of that, you guys held him well in check, not just points-wise, but really not affecting the game as much as he's capable of. What's key against him? I mean, I know on-the-ball defense is important, but what else has to happen to keep him at bay like you guys did for 3+ quarters tonight?
A lot of it is just trying to make his life really difficult. You know, kind of the same way they're doing with, like, me and Shea, like, and just us in general. Like, he's a good player. He's going to affect the game without even, you know, like, even if he has an off night, like, him being on the floor, like, he's going to have some type of impact on the game. So a lot of it is just trying to make it really hard for him to get to spots and understanding what he likes to do and try and turn that off. But like I said, he's a good player. He's going to be out there. Just him being out there, he's going to affect how he plays.
All right, that was Jalen Williams from the press conference podium. We're going to take another timeout. We still got to hear from Mark Dagnall as well as Lou Dort, possibly Isaiah Hartenstein from the Thunder locker room. 123-107, Thunder take Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Along with Josh Calloway, I'm Colby Daniels. We're back in a moment on the End Zone. Thunder take Game 2 of the NBA Finals, 123-107. I'll say this, they are not in this position to even play in the NBA Finals without Alex Caruso. I thought they addressed their biggest weakness in the offseason. Alex Caruso has been monumental in this team's postseason run, and he's now at the podium. He was big tonight with 20 points, and obviously everything he does that doesn't register in the box score. Let's listen into Alex Caruso.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically start of the second. Was that like our dub, me, Queso, Wiggs? Yeah, we've played that lineup a lot through the playoffs, and Mark went back to it just because, you know, we've had a lot of success. You know, me and Kaysen do a good job of kind of mixing it up with whoever's the lead guards, and then, you know, Dub has great hands, and then I'm not sure if it was Chet or Hart, but, you know, we just have versatility in that lineup, and it lets Wiggins, you know, let Wiggs get loose a little bit too.
Hey, Alex, Jenny Carlson with the Oklahoman. Mark called their offense conceptual. Rick called it an ecosystem. Obviously, Tyrese is the head of all of that. So how do you guys feel like you've balanced tonight, guarding him, making sure you're handling him, but then, you know, were there other things you felt like you did to sort of hold him in check the way you did, especially first 3+ quarters?
Yeah, I mean, you give a lot of credit to Lou. I think he matched up with most of his minutes. Lou's accepting the challenge. I think Lou maybe only scored, you know, maybe made one shot tonight. But, you know, he knows the role he needs to play for us to have a chance to win this series and pick up that trophy at the end. And he's doing a good job of it. But like you said, you know, kind of speaking on the way they play, like tonight they had 5 or 6 guys in, you know, 12 to 17 point range. All of them took about, you know, 10 to 12 shots. Like, they're a very unselfish team. They're a very consistent team with wherever the ball finds, that person is aggressive to score, and they got good players. So I think it's just, you know, it comes down to making it as hard as we can for them, and then, you know, trying to force tough shots and finish possessions.
Marcus on the left.
Marcus Thompson, The Athletic. I got a couple questions for you. You had the fewest minutes in the regular season that you've had in a long time, I think like your second year. I'm curious what that was like for you. Was it tough as a guy who's used to playing, or you know, was it good for you at this point in your career?
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. You know, some of that is I play a pretty erratic style, you know, regardless if it's Game 1 or if it's, you know, Game 2 of the finals. Like, I just only have one gear. I don't know how to play at 75%. So some of that was keeping me, you know, out of my own way, you know, out of harm's way, because I don't do a good job of that on my own. And then, yeah, some of that was difficult just because I am such a competitive guy, and, you know, if I'm only playing 15 to 20 minutes, and if it's one of those nights where it's 15, and we're not playing great, like my instinct is to like, all right, coach, like leave me in there, let me fix it, let me be the one to like help us get out of it. So yeah, a little difficult in that aspect, but at the same time, we won 68 games in the regular season. We had a 12, 13 man rotation through the year, depending on who was hurt and different teams we played. That just comes with the nature of having a really good deep team.
Have you gotten a chance to process being back in the finals, especially like the journey it took to get back to this level and how it impacts your play now?
Yeah, just how difficult it is. It's not easy to make the playoffs. It's not easy to win a series. It's not easy to advance to the finals. Like, all that shouldn't be taken for granted. And I keep seeing people for the first time this postseason, like people that I know or don't know, and they say congratulations. And I truly don't want them to tell me congratulations until the series is over and we've won. Like, I don't feel like we've accomplished anything until we win 4 games. And that's just kind of the mindset I have because, like you said, getting here isn't guaranteed. You're not – nobody gets a free pass. Nobody gets an extended welcome. You have to earn it every time. And being here is an accomplishment, but winning it is the real pinnacle.
Third row in the center.
That was Alex Caruso from the Thunder press conference podium. I won't say congratulations to him, as he just said, but I will say he had a heck of a game tonight, 20 big points, and obviously, once again, just making big hustle plays and bringing the juice off the bench
That
when this
fired
team
me up. That gave me
desperately
the juice
needs
right
it.
there.
That's right. Let's go. Let's go for another hour
Yeah.
tonight. I'm kidding. My production crew will probably kill me for even suggesting that. We're going to take a timeout. On the other side of the break, we will hear from Lou Dort from the Thunder locker room. 123-107. Thunder take Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Along with Josh Calloway, I am Colby Daniels from the Paycom Center, a nearly empty Paycom Center at this point. I'm thinking back to the faces of everyone in the building after game number 1, and it's a much different feel tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, smiles on everyone's faces tonight as opposed to looking like they had seen a ghost. What on earth just happened type of feel following game 1. One of the stars of game number 1, even in a loss, was Lou Dort. I know he didn't show up as much in the scoring department tonight. He didn't hit 5 threes like he did in game number 1, but his presence is always felt, and we caught up with him in the Thunder locker room.
Is there a point after that game 1 where you could feel that everybody had kind of flushed it?
Yeah, I would say the next day. I mean, obviously right after the game airs, took your phone, you see everything on social media. But the next day, when we watch film and we know some of the stuff that we can take care of, which we did tonight. So, I would say after the next day, we moved on.
And can you tell that from the way you guys were playing that, oh yeah, we've definitely put this behind us? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a next game mentality, and then you always got to take care of the game in front of you. It's the playoff. It's going to happen, and then we're going to win. We're going to win some. We're going to lose some, but we just got to be prepared for the next one.
That was Lou Dort following the 123-107 win for the Thunder. He mentioned being able to flush it. No matter how many times they're able to do it, and we've seen it multiple times, even this postseason, it still amazes me that they're able to just, I guess, put the losses like game 1 behind them and show up in a way like they did tonight. All right, we have Mark Dagnall coming up next here on The End Zone.